This is the Treaty of Versailles, the paper that was supposed to end all wars. But instead, it crushed Germany with a huge fine, blamed them for everything, and left millions of people jobless, hungry, and angry. But here's the part no one really talks about. This treaty didn't just end a war, it helped start the next one. So, what really happened in World War II? How did it start? Why did it get so big? And how did one angry man with dangerous ideas convince millions to follow him? Because when a country is broke, angry, and desperate, it stops thinking clearly. And that's when Hitler stepped in, and everything changed. It all started in 1919, right after the end of World War I. The leaders of the winning countries signed something called the Treaty of Versailles. It was meant to bring peace, but instead, it caused more trouble, especially for Germany. This treaty forced Germany to take full blame for the war through something called Article 231. Because of this, Germany had to pay $33 billion as punishment. In today's money, that's around $270 billion. And believe it or not, Germany didn't finish paying it until 2010, almost 100 years later. All of this money came from regular German people, which crushed their economy. By 1921, when Germany made its first payment, their economy started falling apart. Hyperinflation hit the country so badly that things became almost worthless. In 1922, a loaf of bread in Berlin cost 160 German marks. Just a year later, in 1923, that same loaf cost 200 billion marks. People needed carts of cash just to buy groceries. Jobs disappeared. Unemployment spread fast. Life was becoming harder each day. That's when a new face began to rise. In 1923, a man named Hitler and his party tried to take over the government. It didn't work, but many people started paying attention to him. Some people believed what he said, especially when things kept getting worse. By 1929, the Great Depression made life even harder. In Germany alone, 6 million people were without jobs by 1933. Many had no homes. Children were starving. That same year, Hitler took full control and became dictator. He spoke about building a stronger German empire, one meant only for Aryans. He didn't want any space for Jews or Slavs. He also claimed that the people responsible for Germany's suffering were hiding inside the country. These ideas began to spread across towns and cities. He wasn't just giving speeches anymore. Things were moving. In 1935, the world found out that Germany had secretly been building an air force. This was a serious violation of the Treaty of Versailles, which had banned Germany from doing that. Shockingly, some in Britain believed that Germany had been treated too harshly. Britain even signed an agreement in June 1935, allowing Germany to build a navy. France wasn't happy. They got worried and started building a defense wall called the Maginot Line, 450 kilometers long, along their eastern border. Meanwhile, Hitler was planning something else. In 1938, his eyes were on Austria, a country that spoke German. He believed it should be part of Germany, not separate. But it wasn't just about pride. He wanted Austria's resources and more land, which he called Lebensraum, for the so-called superior race. In February 1938, Hitler pushed Austria's leader to let Nazis join the Austrian government. One of them, Hans Fischbach, became the finance minister and started helping jailed Nazis. When the Austrian leader tried to let the people vote on their country's future, Hitler moved fast. On March 12, 1938, German soldiers entered Vienna. The Austrian leader stepped down to avoid violence. Then came fake news stories about riots, blaming communists, and asking Germany to protect the country. By the next day, Austria's parliament was gone, and the country was no longer independent. Most people in Austria accepted it, thinking Hitler might turn them into a powerful country again. Soon after that, Hitler looked toward Czechoslovakia, focusing on a place called Sudetenland, where 3 million German-speaking people live. He claimed that land should also belong to Germany. Britain's leader wanted to avoid another war, so in September 1938, they agreed to let Germany take Sudetenland. In return, Hitler promised he wouldn't take anything else, but he broke that promise in less than a year. In March 1939, German forces moved into the rest of Czechoslovakia. The country was split. Part of it became part of Germany, and the rest turned into a Nazi-controlled area called the Slovak Republic. This made many in Britain angry, and people began to lose faith in peace deals. Now, Hitler set his sights on Poland. In a surprising move, he signed a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union in August 1939, even though he hated communism. The deal made sense for both. Germany wanted the western part of Poland, and the Soviets wanted the east. On September 1st, 1939, nearly 1 million German soldiers invaded Poland from two sides. Britain and France had enough. They gave Germany a warning: stop the invasion or face war. Hitler ignored it. So, on September 3rd, 1939, Britain and France declared war on Germany. Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and Canada also joined. This is how World War II officially began. At first, not much fighting happened. This period was called the Phony War. But behind the scenes, Poland was being crushed. Their army was old-fashioned and still used horses, while Germany used fast attacks and new war tactics. By September 8, 1939, German forces reached the heart of Poland. At the same time, the Soviet Union invaded from the other side. Poland was split between Germany and the Soviets. The world had entered a terrifying new phase, and things were only going to get worse. Germany had a military strategy called Blitzkrieg, which means lightning war. It focused on moving fast and catching enemies off guard. German tanks and aircraft would strike before the other side could prepare. To keep soldiers awake and active for long periods, they were given a drug called Pervitin, which is now known as crystal meth. It made them feel strong, confident, and alert, even without food or sleep. This gave Germany an advantage in battle, especially when others were too tired to fight. Using this method, Germany took over Poland in less than a week and used the same approach in more places later on. While this was happening, the Soviet Union had its own goals. Before 1917, the Russian Empire had controlled parts of Poland and Finland. The Soviet leader was worried that Germany might attack through Finland, so he asked Finland to give up land near Leningrad, about 50 kilometers from the border. Finland refused, and in November 1939, the Soviets invaded. Their army was larger, but the war dragged on through the winter and proved difficult. It finally ended in March 1940 with a treaty that gave the Soviets 11% of Finnish territory, but it cost them a lot in effort and lives. In April 1940, Germany shifted focus again. On April 9th, they invaded Denmark and Norway. Denmark gave in fast. Norway's leaders escaped to London and continued working from there. Germany then placed its own loyal group in charge of Norway. On May 10, 1940, a big change happened in Britain's leadership, and on the same day, Germany launched a massive attack. The targets were France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. France had built strong defenses along its border, called the Maginot Line, but Germany avoided them. They divided their army into 3 groups. One group hit the Netherlands and Belgium. Another group acted like it was attacking the Maginot Line. The main force moved through the Ardennes forest, which France thought was impossible to pass through. Germany sent over 40,000 vehicles through the forest. By May 15th, they had captured a town called Sedan and moved quickly to trap Allied forces. This caused the Dunkirk situation, where nearly 400,000 British and French troops were stuck near the sea. From May 26th to June 4th, 1940, about 350,000 soldiers were rescued using Navy ships, air support, and even small boats from civilians. But they lost almost all of their equipment. On June 10th, Italy joined the fight on Germany's side and declared war on Britain and France. France couldn't hold out and surrendered on June 22, 1940. After that, Germany was in control of Austria, Poland, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and France. Britain was the only country left in Europe still fighting Hitler. The Soviet Union had an agreement with Germany, so it wasn't involved yet. The US stayed out of the war because of what happened during World War I. Hitler wanted to invade Britain through a plan called Operation Sea Lion. But Britain's navy was too strong. So instead, Germany began air attacks. Germany had 2,600 planes, while Britain had around 700. On July 10, 1940, Germany began bombing airfields and factories in Britain. On August 24th, a mistake happened. German planes dropped bombs on London, killing people. Britain hit back by bombing Berlin. On September 15, 1940, Germany sent 1,120 planes to destroy London. But Britain's Air Force fought hard. They shot down 60 German planes while losing 29. This day became important, as it was Germany's first major failure in the war. After that, Hitler paused the Britain invasion plan and turned toward the Soviet Union. He hated communism and wanted the Soviet land for Germany. On June 22, 1941, Germany started Operation Barbarossa. They used 6,000 tanks against the Soviet Union's 20,000. Even though the Soviets had more tanks, Germany had better technology. The Soviet Union then joined the Allied side and teamed up with Britain. They got supplies through Iran, which they invaded together when Iran's leaders refused to cooperate. At first, Germany made fast progress. In just 2 days, they moved 100 kilometers. By October 1941, they were close to Moscow. But German leaders argued, and delays gave the Soviets time. The cold weather also helped the Soviets fight back. They also had an agreement with Japan, which let them use more soldiers against Germany. Then, in December 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in the US, killing over 2,300 Americans. This event brought the US into the war. The Allies now included Britain, the Soviet Union, China, and the US. By mid-1942, Japan had moved into Thailand and Cambodia. Germany also kept pushing into the Soviet Union's south to cut off their supply lines, leading to a major fight in the city of Stalingrad. The fight for Stalingrad between August 1942 and February 1943 turned into a nightmare for Germany. The Soviets refused to give up, even after losing thousands of soldiers. Cold weather froze tanks and soldiers, stopping the German advance. By the end of the battle, 300,000 German troops were trapped and gave up. Around the same time, in June 1942, the Allies changed the course of the war in the Pacific by sinking 4 Japanese aircraft carriers at the Battle of Midway. In North Africa, German and Italian forces were driven out of Egypt by the British by late 1942. In July 1943, Italians rose up against their leader, Mussolini. He was captured and executed by resistance fighters. Italy's new government left the Axis powers and joined the Allies. Later in November, the leaders of the Soviet Union, the United States, and Britain came together in Tehran to talk about ending the war. What are your views on this? Do let us know in the comment section below. And for more such amazing videos, do subscribe to our channel.